Look closely at this spice. These tiny crimson threads are not gold, yet they are often referred to as red gold. Gram for gram, a kilogram of premium saffron can sell for $5,000 to $10,000. That makes it pricier than almost any other agricultural product on Earth.
The price isn't the whole story. To truly understand its value, we must trace the fragile supply chain and the extreme cost baked into every single thread. Why is this spice so ridiculously expensive?
The answer begins in the field. Saffron comes from the Crocus sativus flower. The part we pay for is the stigma, 3 delicate red threads found inside each bloom. The critical constraint is volume.
A typical yield requires the harvesting of approximately 150,000 flowers to produce just 1 kilogram of dried saffron.
Crucially, saffron flowers are harvested over a short, intense 3-week period in late autumn, and they must be picked by hand before the sun damages their quality.
Did you know that a kilogram of saffron requires an estimated 40 hours of manual labor just for the flower picking?
Then comes the separation of the stigmas, also done by hand.
This reliance on human touch is not optional. Attempts at mechanization have been largely unsuccessful.
Machines risk damaging the delicate stigmas, and, more importantly, they harm the corm, the subterranean bulb that propagates the sterile plant.
This mechanical impossibility guarantees that the labor cost, the human cost, will always form the foundation of saffron's high price. Yet, the irony is profound.
The farmer performing the painstaking labor often receives less than 1% of the final retail price, with intermediaries capturing the massive margin.
Section 2. Saffron as currency and conflict.
Saffron's value isn't modern, it's ancient. For over 3,500 years, it served not just
as a seasoning, but as medicine against the plague, a royal yellow dye, and even currency. In medieval England, rich elites used saffron as saffron money to pay rent and signal wealth, prioritizing it over conventional coinage. But the ultimate testament to its financial power came in 1374, igniting the Saffron War.
A massive shipment of 800 pounds of saffron, bound for the town of Basel,
was hijacked and stolen by nobles. The theft was so costly, worth over $500,000 in today's market, that it triggered a 14-week war between Basel and Austria until the cargo was returned.
Pirates operating in the Mediterranean often preferred to raid ships laden with saffron over those carrying gold. It was a more concentrated, easily negotiable form of wealth that was simpler to lift.
This history proves that for centuries, saffron was structurally, and often literally, worth its weight in gold. The supply chain of this ancient crop faces immense modern risks, starting with geopolitical concentration.
The world supply is dominated by one nation, Iran, which produces an estimated 90% of all global saffron. This monopoly exposes the global market to extreme volatility on the table.
Trade sanctions, political instability, and weak financial infrastructures in the Middle East mean a supply shock could, at any moment, remove a massive percentage of the global supply, causing prices to spike instantly.
But the single greatest long-term threat is invisible and systemic: climate change.
In high-value regions like Kashmir, farmers are struggling with diminishing yields due to erratic weather, unseasonable warmth,
and dwindling snowfall, all of which disrupt the delicate environmental balance required for the crocus to bloom.
Historically, Kashmiri yields ranged from 15 to 17 tons annually. These climatic disruptions
Introduce persistent scarcity, acting as a perennial upward pressure on prices for generations to come.
Where there is high value, there is high fraud. Saffron is one of the most susceptible crops to economic adulteration.
Estimated to be adulterated in 20 to 30% of commercial samples globally.
Fraudsters use cheap substitutes, from simple marigold petals to corn fibers, and
dangerously, synthetic dyes find compounds like superficially enhanced color. This poses not just an economic loss, but a significant health risk to consumers.
Countering this fraud requires advanced science. The global standard is ISO 3632, which measures the concentration of 3 key phytochemicals that define quality: crocin, picrocrocin, and saffronalmac. Today, labs utilize high-tech tools like Raman spectroscopy and DNA
barcoding to authenticate threads with over 99% accuracy, fighting back against increasingly sophisticated masking techniques.
Looking to the future, the saffron market is transitioning from the kitchen spice jar to the pharmaceutical laboratory.
Conclusion: the future of red gold animated.
The highest growth in the coming decade is forecast for saffron extract, driven by its use in nutraceuticals for memory
and anti-inflammatory benefits. This market segment is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of nearly 9%.
This shift means a focus on vertical integration. Growers control everything from the corm. This is becoming essential to stabilize prices and guarantee pharmaceutical-grade quality.
Saffron's price is high because its supply is fixed, fragile, and foundational. It is a commodity defined by rarity, concentration, and the thousands of hours of painstaking human effort that no machine can replace.
So the next time you see red gold, remember, you're not paying for a spice.
You're paying for 3,500 years of history, geopolitical vulnerability, and the tireless hands
that deliver this precious thread from the purple field to your table.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel, History of Money 3D. Like and share for more videos.